Welcome to Champagne Problems Podcast. I am your host, Robbie Shaw. Join us as we explore mental and emotional well-being, physical optimization, and the journey to discovering your highest self. Champagne Problems is brought to you in proud partnership with Bond Buzz, the alcohol-free social spirit. WiBi Ashley, welcome to Champagne Problems down at the Food and Wine Classic in Charleston.
Thank you, Robbie. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm very excited to get to know you. I know we just pretty much met face to face, and now we will dig in a little bit. But I first like to start with rapid fire. Okay. So I like to get you on your toes.
Ooh, okay.
See how quick you are.
Okay.
No, it's nothing. It's more just for fun. And the first question, what was your first live music concert and where?
Ooh, my first live music concert was on the campus of North Carolina A&T State University in Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm an Aggie, graduated from there, Aggie Pride.
Yeah.
And my first homecoming concert, and it was with Biggie Smalls, the late and great Biggie
Brooklyn's
Smalls.
finest.
Yes. Bad Boy Entertainments, of course.
Oh my God,
and,
Frank White.
Yes, you know. So yeah,
I
that was my first. I was about 17, 18 years old, my first concert.
And so what year would that have been?
92, 93.
I mean, Ready to Die.
Yeah, that's it.
Just coming out. That is amazing. So he came through, so I'm a big rap fan. I've always have been. He came through Charlotte and played at the Metrolina Expo or something like that. And it was right around that time. We were in 10th or 11th grade. And, back then it was very less structured. And they would come on at 2 a.m.
Yes.
Sitting back there killing it till about 2. Man, I went home and back a few times and was like, Dad, please let me stay out a little bit longer. So funny. Oh, and you'll like this. So I went to West Charlotte High School in Charlotte, and we saw Outkast on the baseball field in red dirt at the West Fest in 1993.
Wow.
And that was just when Southern Playalistic was coming out.
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of my claim to fame right there.
Yes.
Well before people knew who they were. Anyway, good stuff there. All right. I assume you read.
I do.
What's one current book that you're reading?
The current book that I'm reading is called The Road to the Salt Sea by Samuel Koolowell.
Okay.
He is a Nigerian writer, professor, and the book talks about the migration of Nigerians leaving Nigeria, West Africa to migrate to Libya.
Okay.
For better work, for a better quality of life. But this book has a lot of scandal in it, a lot of drama.
Has to.
This young man, his name is Abel God. He's the main character, and he is speaking on his journey of leaving Nigeria for a better life in Libya. And so he ends up getting caught up with these kind of sketchy characters on the way. But it is a great book. It just came out this summer.
Interesting. And what's the time frame of that migration?
It's current.
Current. Great.
It's current. It's
very
current.
Cool.
So yeah.
Cool.
The Road to the Salt Sea.
Got it. Koolowell.
Koolowell. Samuel Koolowell.
Got it.
Nigerian, Yoruba.
All right. Great. What's your favorite smell?
Oh, I have a lot, but lemongrass.
Really?
Lemongrass.
You love lemongrass.
It opens my chakras. It opens me up.
Yes.
And it makes me happy when I smell it. Another fragrance is honeysuckle. That's another one. It just brings me joy and peace when I smell it. So yeah.
I love when people share smells of Mother Nature. Often it's like, oh, I love, strawberry jam. And I'm like, I think that's just sugar.
Absolutely.
That's great. What's your least favorite smell?
Ooh, least favorite smell. I would say probably pork. I'm plant-based.
Oh yeah.
I've been
so bacon and all that. You're not a fan.
I can stand it. I've been on the journey of eating plant-based for over 25 years, so it doesn't bother me, but it still kind of unease me a little bit.
Pork more so than other meats?
Yeah, because fish doesn't bother me. Chicken doesn't bother me, but it's just something about pork.
Huh.
Beef doesn't bother me either, but pork.
All
Yeah.
right, I got it. I feel you. I feel you. Cool. All right, one last question, a little cerebral. If you could know the answer to any question, what would you ask?
Ooh. What is my purpose here on this earth? I'm figuring out.
Well, that sounds like you'd be asking yourself that.
Answer my inner self and my inner God likeness, the universe, asking the universe,
Yeah.
what is my purpose?
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that I'll find my purpose while I'm here.
Yeah.
And I'm on my path of purpose right now in this space and time that we're in. So, yeah.
Got it. Well, we could dig into that for sure. That's where I like to go. Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 50.
50, okay.
Yeah.
So a theme, and likely it's because of my own journey and my own age and my own path, a theme that I tend to gravitate towards is that conversation, is, we are on the second half of our life or however you want to perceive it. And those thoughts, those questions, those searches are somewhat inevitable for people who are seekers.
Right.
A lot of people aren't seekers and just live day to day and do what they think they're doing, and they're fairly bland. But for people like us who are seekers, this stage in life, I feel like inevitably falls into that quest kind of space. And why am I here, and why are we here, and why were they here
Before.
500 years ago,
Exactly.
or even a million? And I love that. It's so deep and it's so fun to really dig into with somebody, especially people who are doing things and doing things for others. And I think that's where we all of a sudden start thinking, I'm doing something right.
That's right.
This feels like my path.
That's right.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, let's do a short bio. I know you told me where you're from, but let's tell our listeners. Give me a little early life.
Early life?
Yeah.
Okay. Originally from Gastonia, North Carolina. Gas house. Right outside of Charlotte.
You can go to Ashbrook, did you?
No, I went to Hunter Huss.
Oh, you went to Huss. Got it.
My dad was the principal at Ashbrook,
Really?
though. Yes.
Green wave.
But yeah, I'm a Husky, Hunter Huss High School, born and raised in Gastonia. My family, my mother and father still lives there. I was just there last week to visit with them.
Very cool.
And had a wonderful childhood. I was the only child for 10 years. Then my younger brother came along. And I grew up in a middle-class home, Black family, community. All the neighbors knew each other. Yeah. Raised in the church, Baptist, so went to church every Sunday. My father's a pastor, so I went to church every Sunday. My mother, was a stay-at-home mom, took care of the family. She was the caregiver of the family. So she took care of everyone who was sick. So her grandmother and her mother and her auntie and her uncle.
Of the family.
The family.
Got it,
yes. Yes. And so, I had a great childhood, went off to college, North Carolina A&T State University, as I stated, and I majored in liberal arts, concentration in writing. Loved to write, thought I was going to be a writer. Yeah. But I segued to something else. After college, I ended up becoming a flight attendant. I had always wanted to travel and thought that, okay, I'm 22, 23 years old.
Adventure.
Let me travel, make some money doing it and see the world. So I did that for 11 and a half years.
Wow. What airline? Or airlines?
It was with Delta, Comair. It was a small subsidiary airline with Comair. Delta owned us. Yeah, okay. And so, first base was in Cincinnati. It was a culture shock coming from the South to Cincinnati, and the snow was like nonstop. But so once I was able to hold a line and not be on ready reserve, I moved back to Greensboro. And I commuted, did my trips and commuted back and forth from Greensboro to Cincinnati. And I was in other bases too, such as Orlando, JFK base. So yeah, for 11 years I bounced around in the airline industry.
Everywhere, right?
Yes, I did. And then after that, I went into human resource.
Okay.
I thought I wanted to do some things in human resource, administrative work, and did that for about 2.5 years, and then had a car accident in 2013. And decided that I wanted to pack up my things in North Carolina and go to Panama to heal.
Love it.
So I packed up everything in Greensboro. I went to Panama, Central America, and that's where I did my healing from that detrimental car accident in 2013.
Can I ask just some of the details on the car accident?
So
what
yes,
happened?
So let me just back up a little bit. I started eating plant-based 25 years ago when my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Okay.
Did not want to get that disease. She was the first lady in our family, first woman in our family to ever had cancer. And so the doctors automatically said, your daughter's next.
Oh, God.
And I was like, no,
she's not.
This cannot be my destiny. No, please, universe, no. And so I started reading and doing a lot of research and saw that it had a lot to do with diet and environmentally. At the time, I didn't know how to change things environmentally. So I knew that I could change things by putting in my body. So I stopped eating meat. And the first thing I gave up,
pork. Nasty
there
pigs.
You have it. Pork. And then the beef, and then the chicken and the fish was the last thing I gave up. And ultimately I started feeling better. I gave up dairy. And once I gave up dairy, I felt the connection and knew the connection. As a child, I had chronic constipation. Didn't know why.
Yeah.
Suffered through it until I took away dairy from the diet.
Yeah.
Constipation went away and it clicked.
Yeah.
Aha.
Something in the animals.
Something in the animals. For me, anyway.
Yeah, right.
And so, I just set on the quest to just start eliminating more things from my diet. When I did this 25 years ago, vegan was not a thing.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of people ask me, they say, are you vegan? And I say, I eat like a vegan. But I didn't do this for animal rights. I did this for Weebie rights, for my body. Yeah. And then animal rights, of course, it plays hand in hand and go hand in hand with how I eat. But so I did that over 25 years ago, and then the accident happened and fell asleep driving back from New York City, fell asleep behind the wheel. I was right at the Virginia, North Carolina line. And I kept saying, if I just get to the North Carolina line, I'll pull over and go to sleep. And going down to Greensboro, it didn't make it. It didn't happen. God. And so when I became conscious, I was in a hospital, small hospital, and they couldn't do anything with my injuries. So they had to airlift me up to VCU in Richmond. And that's where I had to go into surgery with my eye. I have a titanium plate to save my right eye. The seatbelt severed my collarbone. And then I had 12 screws and rods in my right ankle. So they had to rebuild my ankle. So it was very, very detrimental. And as I'm laying in the hospital bed, my parents, they all came up from North Carolina, my family. And they're saying, well, she's vegetarian. But I was literally paralyzed on the right side of my face. And my brother, I turned to him and I said, I need juices. I need something that I can just, not have to chew, not have to digest. And luckily it was a juice bar right around from the hospital, from the campus. And they were bringing in me wheatgrass shots and the juices. And I went on a juice feast. I don't like to say fast because it was a feast for me because my body was getting the nutrients that it needed to heal. Okay. And so I did that for 3 months. Juice. My parents thought that I had lost my everlasting mind. They said, we can understand you don't eat meat, but now you're not eating anything? And I said, Mom and Dad, I need this. I think this is the way I need to heal from this injury. Not only from the injuries, but my spirit, the trauma. Right. I have a scar on my face and it has really gotten smaller, but it was covered from my nose to into my cheek. Yeah. And that was, looking in the mirror was hard. Yeah. So, because it had changed, the way that I have viewed myself for
identity.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I started eating that way, and it became a lifestyle. So the way I was eating after the car accident, during the car accident, and after the car accident, after the fasting, was called raw living foods, living foods. And that is foods that's not cooked over 110, 115 degrees. So you're eating the foods. It doesn't kill the nutrients, the enzymes, the vitamins, the minerals that your body needs to absorb. And I needed that at the time. And actually, I was with my teacher when the car accident happened. Nothing happened to him. He's been raw foodist for over 50 years, Panamanian, and nothing happened to him. He was the one that got me out the car and all that. And so he said, "You need to heal." And I said, "I know." And he said, "Want to come to Panama with me and heal?" I said, "Absolutely." So that was my opportunity to go to Panama. I was there for 2 years off and on. I would cross over to Costa Rica, get my passport stamped to stay another 6 months.
My God. Love it.
In Panama. And that's where I did my healing. I healed in, the sunshine, eating fresh fruits, yoga, meditation, prayer. Nothing happens without prayer. I found a young lady in Connecticut. She was there backpacking through Panama, and she was a Reiki practitioner. So we would exchange. I would make juices for her, and she would do Reiki for me. The hot springs. We lived in a small town called El Valle de Atón, and it was a crater of a volcano. And it had hot springs there. So I would go to the hot springs and immerse my body in the springs and clay baths. And so I did that for 2 years, and also studying with Dr. Aris the science of how living foods heal the body and the spirit, because it became a holistic journey for me. And so went to Jamaica for a little bit and ran a juice bar in Port Antonio, Jamaica, Portland, Jamaica. Ran a juice bar there, and then came back in the States in 2016 and ended up here in Charleston, South Carolina. And I just wanted to share my testimony. I never sought out to be a chef.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share my story of, how food healed me. And I've traveled and I've seen food heal other people. And I started selling juices at the night market, Charleston City Market.
Yeah.
Started selling juices there and became known as the juice lady.
You are the juice lady.
And I said, well, I'm more than juices. I know how to do food too. And so started, hosting dinners and having conversations around foods with a group of people and letting them taste the raw living foods and, the things that I were making. And here I am sitting with you at Food and Wine Festival of all places.
I know. How far we've come.
Exactly.
Wow, Weebie. That is so powerful and so interesting.
Thank you.
I mean, there's so many places I could go with that, and I just may take your lead. I mean, my personal interests, I think I would just start with what drew you. So I guess I'm curious in two spaces. You have the injury, the set of injuries. What is drawing you to believe that food, nutrients, those kinds of things are going to heal you, as opposed to what would be considered other ways people
standard American diet or Western medicine?
Yeah, I mean, yes, yes.
And that's that's the thing. I had to use both, because without the surgery,
Sure.
So I had to use the surgery. I had to use Western medicine. But remember, 25 years ago when my mother had the breast cancer, I was starting to read a lot of books.
Okay.
A lot of things that said that food can heal and can reverse and can prevent. So that was the seed 25 years ago. I had to see my mother go through cancer and chemo. And I'm reading this and I'm trying to encourage her and say, Mom, stop eating, the meat. Maybe, because her cancer came back twice. She's still with me, but the cancer came back twice. And so she did not look at it a holistic approach. She just kept using the Western approach. She had a double I can't even say the word. Mastectomy. She got both breasts removed. You know, she stayed on a chemo pill for over 20 years.
Oh, God.
So it took a toll on her body.
Sure. And
I just wanted to use food as medicine because I had been screaming around town, food is medicine, you know? And then I had to actually use that mantra for myself. And it worked. It worked. I recovered so quickly. When I was going back to get my checkups from the surgeries and the doctors, they were like, what are you doing?
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, Robbie. They were like, what are you doing?
I mean, just
and I was
proof
like,
right there.
I'm juicing, you know, I'm not intaking any heavy foods. If I do eat, it's just soups, you know, salads, fruit. And they were amazed. So the boot, I had a boot on and I was supposed to be in that boot for up to a year. I was out of it in 6 months, Robbie. 10 months after the car accident, I came back from Panama and got the metal out of my ankle 10 months after the car accident. They told me that if we take that metal out, you're going to walk with a limp.
No limp.
No limp.
Maybe a little strut.
Because the body is designed to heal itself.
Yes,
if you give it the right things, the right modality, the right, you know, space, it will heal itself. And I'm living proof, and that's what happened for me.
Weebie. This is good stuff, man. All right. All right, well, so let's figure out how to, I mean, this is what you do. I mean, I assume you are considered an activist, you know, just from the mountaintop. Please, everybody, open your eyes, right? Because it's, you know, and you think about just the American diet and all the things we have access to, and there is some access now and more than ever before, certain farmers markets and that kind of stuff. But even then, some of that stuff is still riddled with things that are countering the value in it.
Exactly.
And so you think about, you know, all the other people out there that are trying to heal in the ways that they're told to heal. You stay in a hospital for a month and you're eating Salisbury steak,
potatoes,
fried tater tots, you know, whatever they can, you know, cheaply buy and put together in masses. And that's what they're feeding people who are trying to heal.
That's right. Absolutely. It doesn't work.
No,
it does not work. So that's what I tell people.
Probably something to be said about revisiting the hospitals
they want
and
you to keep
continuing
coming back.
to make money.
Exactly.
Right. They want us to be sick.
Exactly. They wanted, you know, the airbag crushed my face. So as I said, crushed my face, my nose was broken, and the fibers from the airbag burnt my face here. I was burnt. And they wanted to give me some type of cream. And I said, no, I was using aloe. I took the big aloe plant, was putting the aloe on my face. Another herb that I used was comfrey, C-O-M-F-R-E-Y, comfrey.
Comfrey. Okay.
It's known as knit bone.
Knit bone.
Knit bone. But that broken nose healed. The shoulder healed. They wanted to re-break my shoulder, put pins here. And I'm like, no, you know, I have to have the metal in my face and the ankle for now, but this is going to heal on its own. And so I was rubbing knit bone, the comfrey on there, the aloe, the lemon to get to the discoloring, to, you know, move the discoloring from my face. And it worked, Robbie. It worked. It worked.
I don't even see the scars.
Yeah.
Golly.
Yeah. A lot of people say, you know, Weebie, if you don't say you have a scar on your face, we wouldn't even see it.
No.
But that's because I think that's my inner light that you see.
Sure.
You don't really see the physical. You're seeing my inner spirit when you meet me. You meet my spirit first.
Right.
You meet my consciousness first, and then you meet the physical of Weebie.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, again, we can go down lots of paths here, and I could continue down that path, and we will continue to incorporate that into the conversation going forward. So let's talk about what you're doing here in Charleston. Let's talk about the food you're cooking and Yeah, as far as your kind of entrepreneurial, projects and what you're doing, please tell me.
Absolutely. As I stated, I started out at the night market selling juices, and then I started doing classes and workshops. So that's what I do here, a lot of classes, a lot of workshops, engaging people to have a relationship with food, getting to know your food, putting your hands back into recipes. Often we look for other people to feed us and not ourselves.
Yeah.
We're not back in our home kitchens cooking like we should.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing's wrong with going out to eat. I look at going out to eat as a fellowship with family and friends and entertainment.
Yeah.
It's definitely entertainment. But in the times that we're living in now, we need to have a relationship with our food and to look for our foods to heal us and nourish us, not just physically, but spiritually too.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's my mantra. I gather a group of ladies and we sit down and we really have heart-to-heart talks about food. A lot of women, we are at my age, menopause, and they're like, well, I'm eating the same thing and I'm still gaining the weight. Well, it's a hormonal balance. Let's talk about that. And let's look at foods that can help that hormonal balance. Mental clarity, when you're in the throes of menopause, you have that fog.
Like cloudy.
So so let's choose foods and let's sit down and have conversations. Let's gather together and figure it out. I'm not trying to make people vegan, I'm not trying to turn people into vegetarians, but just being mindful, right? Being mindful, Robbie, and incorporating fresh fruits and vegetables into your eating regime, because it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. When we approach it as a lifestyle, then you will get results that you're looking for and that you're seeking. My claim to fame is I had the opportunity to work with Woody Harrelson as his personal chef.
Hey.
Yeah. He was here in Charleston doing a movie, and they Googled to see who was doing the raw living foods, because he's been on the road for over 30 years, an advocate for this way of living. And I got a call from Hollywood. I'm like, who's calling me from Hollywood?
Spam.
Right. And I answered it. I'm glad I did. And it was his manager. And she's like, is this Weebie? And I'm like, yes. And she said, okay, I have a client coming in and he wants fresh coconut water and he wants fresh coconut milk and he wants 13 juices in the morning. He wants wheatgrass shots. He wants raw living foods. Can you do it? And I'm like, absolutely. This is what I've been doing for myself. So now I can share it with this client. And so she said, oh, I didn't even tell you the client was, because I wasn't going to ask Robbie.
Just let it be.
Just let it be.
Sound too excited.
Just let it be.
Play
and
it
she
cool.
said, oh, it's Woody Harrelson. And I'm like, white men can't jump.
That's right. That's right.
And she said, yes, white men can't jump. And a couple days later, he called and he was like, Weebie, I looked at your Instagram page and it's so intentional, because I don't post a lot, Robbie. I don't.
Yeah.
And he said, but you're telling a story and I can see that you're living this life. And so he said, I'm excited to meet you and let's make some magic happen. And so he was here in Charleston for about 8 weeks and I catered to him daily.
Wow.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner. And after the 8 weeks was up, he said, excellent job, Weebie. And I'm like, thank you, Woody. Thank you. And he said, you want to go on the road with me? I said, absolutely.
Go to what?
On the road with me.
Bull. Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So I went to Atlanta with him for another 8 weeks. And so how it works is I'm on the road with Woody Harrelson when he's in production. So when he's in film production, it's in the budget for him to have his personal chef, raw food chef, doing what we do with the raw living food space. And so it's been exciting. Well, Hollywood went on strike in 2023.
Right.
So he has not had any projects here in the United States as of yet. So we're hoping.
Golly.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I'm not sure I knew that.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew they went on strike, but I didn't know it like trickled down to that.
Yeah, they were on strike for about 6 months, I want to say. So a lot of actors went across the pond. They went overseas into production until Hollywood kind of sort out their situation. So fingers crossed, I'll hopefully be back on the road in 2025. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So, but it gave me an opportunity to come back here to Charleston, not being on the road, and share with my community. You know, a lot of people don't know I exist in Charleston,
Sure.
you know?
Yeah.
And so it just put me back
They
here
do
working
now.
with local farmers. Yeah, working with my local farmers here. Joseph Fields Farms, not sure if you're familiar with that farm. He is a Gullah Geechee native of
Okay.
Charleston. He's 75 years young, still farming.
Wow.
He's farming on his ancestral land. Family brought the land in the 1920s and been farming ever since. So he was the first Black farmer here in South Carolina, and I'm maybe in the United States, don't quote me on this, but definitely in South Carolina, that went certified organic.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
He's out on Johns Island. So I go out there, I put my hands in the dirt there. I'm learning to grow food there and just having a relationship with community out on Johns Island. He sells at the markets here and certified organic. So yeah.
Wow. What's his name again?
Joseph Fields, and the name is Joseph Fields Farms.
Got it.
On Johns Island, South Carolina. So if you're ever
Y'all
in
heard it.
Charleston, yes, look him up. Beautiful
That's beautiful.
family. His wife is still farming. Like the whole family is farming, and that's important, having that relationship with the food, knowing where your food come from. I work with a lot of children, different schools here locally, and a lot of children think that the food comes off the shelf of Walmart. They've never seen a watermelon grow. They've never seen cucumbers grow or lettuce grow. So that's what we do. We bring children to the farm and we show them from seed to product to table.
Yeah.
This is how your food grows and this is how it looks. So yeah.
This is how the food we'd like for you to eat
Right.
grows. Also.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's so cool. Man, I love, I mean, I'm in the business of storytelling. You know, this right here. It's just so fun for me. And it's interesting. I come from a background of mental health work. So I have a master's in mental health. I don't consider myself a therapist because I don't sit in a room and do therapy. I'm more on the ground and doing more external work. But it inevitably demands this kind of conversation, right? And I was being interviewed recently on another podcast, and at the very end, it was like, man, isn't this fun? I was like, yeah, it is. And it's like, how often do you sit down with your phones off, with no music, and just lock in eyes with one person and go deep? And I do that a lot because I like it, but not many people do. And it just sounds like, when the farmers and the people that you associate with, that's what y'all do. You get together and you just talk about it and us and
life,
we and all of it. Yeah. It's so rich.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. I've been fortunate. I've been very fortunate to just make connections like meeting you and just the community here in Charleston, my community back home, just embracing me, you know? And it's about connecting with you, like you said, connecting with each other, learning with each other, supporting each other on this journey. Life is hard.
Yes, it is. We know.
And so we need these connections to just make it just a little bit easier, a little bit more meaningful.
A little easier, a little meaningful. And then people like us, back to the beginning of our conversation, the people that are seekers, that are trying to better and make their lives richer, you gravitate towards each other. And then all of a sudden, everybody's kind of coming together, and there's people from all different spaces and regions, and then all of a sudden everybody's supporting each other. And it's like, man, this is starting to make sense.
Exactly.
It's fascinating. Weebie, this is so good. I could talk to you for hours, but we are going to have to wrap.
Okay.
Is there anything else that we should cover that allows, I've got listeners really all over the world. And I'd love for them to know, they already know a lot about you, but how can they find you? How more so, and I'm sure you have some places that people can use as resources online, because the education and everything that you are so wealthy in, I think people are going to start looking for it. So where can they find it?
So you can find me on social media platforms. Instagram is WiBi Weebie. Art and Remedies.
Art and Remedies.
So it's an art to healing. So
Yes, it is. Takes creativity.
It takes creativity to heal yourself. You have the ability to heal yourself. And you can also find me at my website, www.artandremedies.com.
That's a good land on that website.
And you can just Google WiBi Ashley. I'll pop up.
Great.
And I'm easy to find. I'm not hard. My phone number's out there.
Not
my email address is out
there.
And I'm just looking, like I said, to just share and grow with people and just make that human connection with each other, that spirit connection, and to support each other in this thing that we call life.
Yeah.
Especially on this side, because we're going to have to transition, you know?
Yes, we are.
But while we're on this side, let's make it peaceful. Let's make it lovable and joy and kindness. And that's my mantra. Yeah.
It's all love.
All love.
Last question. Where do you source? I mean, Woody comes to town and says, I want this, 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 and this, and this. I mean, it's not down the street, right?
It's not.
So how do you source those things?
So absolutely the farm.
Yep.
Grow Foods Carolina, they are a food hub here. And so what they do is they reach out to local farmers throughout South Carolina, and they bring the food here to Charleston, and they disperse it back to the community. So through different chefs, through different restaurants. So when Woody was here, he was eating a lot of Grow Foods, local grown foods from farmers here, Joseph Hills Farms. It is an Asian market and also a Latino market. So the fresh coconuts we're getting from there.
Got it.
And then I was ordering things from Florida, getting the coconuts from Florida. Just being creative. But I also like to teach people and encourage people to eat seasonally. To eat in your region, that saves on the pocketbook, and that helps you eat in the rhythm of life, that you be in the flow of life of what's going on in the now seasons, right? So, of course, here we have all these options and all these different types of cuisines, but simplicity, eating simple is the key. And when you can put that into your eating regime daily, then you will get results physically, spiritually, and mentally. So it's a holistic approach to eating.
Well, you're living proof. You're beautiful inside and out.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Really enjoyed it.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you, Weebie.